again, everybody, and welcome to CaneSport right now on a very big day for the Miami Hurricanes. I'm Gary Furman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell. And Matt, it's a day where Manny Diaz gets sent.
Who? Who are we talking about?
He gets sent packing from the head coach's office a few hours before Mario Cristobal shows up to move in. A day unlike anything that we've ever seen at the U. You know, you've been here 20 plus years. I've been here 40 plus years. And I've never seen anything like this where like it was just rapid fire head coaching change like that. And boom, boom, boom. And now there's a whole new look in the University of Miami football program, an enormous amount of excitement. I was telling somebody today that I think this might be the biggest hire in any form in University of Miami history, simply because of the excitement that it's generating. I mean, when Jimmy Johnson came here, nobody knew who the heck he was. When Dennis Erickson came here, nobody knew who the heck he was. Butch Davis brought a lot of excitement, but nothing like what we're seeing today, Matt.
I mean, it's insane. Like, you literally had to call me a minute ago and say, hey, Matt, we got to go on CaneSport right now. Like, I was talking to an Oregon commit, like, to sort of gauge what's going on. And this is how crazy it was. So I talked to this Oregon commit. He's like, this commitment. He's like, yeah, I'm going to consider Miami, but he's not sure Miami even wants him because, you know, that's just how it goes. Like, Miami's a different level program, honestly, than Oregon, and Mario knows that. And so I'm talking to the kid, and I'm like, you know, on a normal situation, I would write a story. You know, the kid's considering Miami. He's committed elsewhere. Signing days in a week. Dead period hits in 6 days. But, like, we have how many stories on the – I mean, I can't count how many stories we've written today, maybe 15, 20. I don't know. And then we've message board post left and right. So I put on the message board, like, listen, kid's not sure Miami wants him. You know, he likes Miami. He loves Mario. He'll consider Miami if Miami wants to consider him. Like, it's been nonstop all day. And it's great. I mean, like, honestly, from a reporter standpoint, you know, people are joking on the message board like Matt can't go stone crabbing anymore. But, like, what's better than having a team that you can actually write about and, like, be excited about as a reporter instead of a team like, oh, you know, it's like just like, oh, you know, there's no more, oh. You know?
There was no recruiting to really cover for weeks.
Nothing.
I mean, there was nothing. Now all of a sudden you've got kids that were going to go to Oregon that are in play. You've got kids that were being recruited that weren't interested in Miami that now are interested in Miami. You've got 5-star receivers out there that are interested in being recruited now. There is just a whole new level of excitement. And today's Monday, and the coaches, Mario really right now. I mean, I know that Alex Mirabal, who is Mario's right-hand guy, the offensive line coach at Oregon, from what I understand, he is flying into Miami tonight, and I'm guessing will be hired tomorrow, and they will get him on staff as quickly as possible. And there'll be more. I'm expecting Stephen Field to be retained by Mario Cristobal on the staff. Recruiting staffers like David Cooney will be retained. Time will tell on guys like T-Rob, DVD, and that sort of thing, but they are still in the building working and talking to recruits. So, Matt, you know, this is not going to slow down Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for sure. It is going to be just an absolute frenzied effort to make this the best signing class it could possibly be. And I'll tell you what, everybody, this is going to take on a whole new look from what we were talking about a week ago. And this could very quickly become a very impactful recruiting class, Matt.
I mean, yeah, you know, it's still to be determined. Like, you know, truth be told, Mario hasn't even hit the recruiting trail yet. Like, he's still calling kids who are Oregon commitments, thanking them for being Oregon commitments, not necessarily saying we're going to take you at Miami. But that's just classy. You know, that's classy. You don't leave someone who you recruited and developed a relationship with to that school, even though you may not want him at Miami, even though you think he might still be at Oregon or whatever the case may be. Like, you call him, you thank him, you say, thank you for considering Oregon. It was a pleasure getting to know you and your family. Like, that's the right thing to do. And he did that. He's doing that before he's even, like, taking in-home visits with kids he wants or spending a lot of meaningful time talking to kids he wants. Like, Kamari Rogers is waiting to talk to him, you know? Like, Mario has sent out, like, some of the recruiting staff to make phone calls and things like that and say, hey, you know, Mario really wants you, da-da-da-da. But, like, Mario's priority is to make sure things are right with how he left it at Oregon, which is really I mean, it's an amazing thing that he's doing. Like, that's just the type of person he is. This is why kids and families love Mario Cristobal. This is why he's a great coach. He's tireless, he's relentless, but he also cares, which you don't see a lot in college football, right?
No, he did care about Oregon, and he cared about the people at Oregon, and he did, in the middle of all this frenzy of coming to Miami and all the things that are on his plate today, he did take about 10 minutes out of his time to go on a Portland radio station with the top really media personality in Oregon football to talk about his exit and say goodbye to the fans and try to explain why he's leaving and things like that. We've got an article on that on the front page of CaneSport.com for anybody that's interested in that, to go with all the other things that are on the website today. But to sum it all up, the day began with Mario meeting with his team in Oregon. And from what I was told by people out there, couldn't have been more emotional, couldn't have been more heart-wrenching. I think what you got to understand is that this is not a guy that starts recruiting a kid 2-3 weeks before and says, hey, come to Miami. And like, he barely knows the kid when the kid commits. Mario starts recruiting kids 2-3 years in advance and builds some deep relationships with these kids, with their families, and they have developed a bond with him, and they believed in him. And for him to say that he was leaving Oregon was a big blow to a lot of these kids. And you know, we talked about it yesterday, Matt. It definitely impacted their performance Friday night in the Pac-12 title game when, you know, they found out right before kickoff that Oregon was in a frenzy to try to keep them. But there was just a deep connection there with Mario and his players, and he wanted to make sure before he left town that he got them together. I'm not sure if he had the whole team there or not, but I'm sure he had as many of them as possible. And he had a meeting early this morning, and they talked about it, and you know, he said his goodbyes, and then it was just pack up some stuff and get on a plane to Miami. And I believe he arrived like probably late afternoon and has hit the ground running. He's been recruiting, you know, calling as many kids as he can. You know, that's because that's all he knows. Recruiting is the most important thing. And so today's Monday. Tomorrow morning, he'll be introduced at a press conference. It'll be his opening press conference as football coach, and that should be very, very interesting. Mario is very eloquent. And then Matt, he'll be off and running back on recruiting, and there'll be a whole new sequence of events to cover.
Yeah, you think? I mean,
no doubt.
It's gonna be real. Like these next 6 days, I think we should charge double for CaneSport subscriptions, because like maybe even quadruple, because we're gonna have so many stories. Like, it's gonna be crazy. I mean, people are gonna be getting their information maybe for 1 cent a story based on how many stories we are gonna be putting up in the next 6 days. It's gonna be just insane. For those that don't know, the dead period hits on Sunday. Signing days on Wednesday. It's going to be interesting also to see like which kids really do wait till February. You know, some of these kids are saying, well, you know, I got to wait and see. But, you know, it's going to be interesting as this week goes along. We'll see what the official visit list looks like for this weekend. Also, because for those that don't know, once a coach is fired, you can bring in anybody you want to take a second official visit to Miami. Kids who have already visited officially can come back officially. Mm-hmm. I still don't think it's going to be a huge class. You know, I still think at the end of the day, they have 8 commitments. We reported Justin Medlock decommitted today. You know, it's probably, if I had to guess, Mario would probably target around maybe 12 to 15 for the early period. You know, guys like Shamar Stewart are waiting. So there's some others he'll like that are waiting. Yeah. But that's okay. You know, but you
definitely don't waste scholarships, and he won't, because he knows he can hit the portal like a maniac. And you know, that can always remain part of the equation. So we'll be building towards this big visit weekend this weekend. We want this show to be very much about your comments and your questions. As we're talking here, I will start flowing down. I'm going to try not to get 45 minutes behind like I did last night, and try to get through as many comments and questions as we can. Obviously, a day that everybody's excited. Greg is right once again. Greg is like a celebrity on our CaneSport Live show on Tuesday nights. Those of you that have never listened to CaneSport Live, listen tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's show should be a pretty good show, and We have a lot of fans from around the country that are kind of regulars. They call in, and then, we get first-time callers too. Anybody's welcome to call in and give their opinions on the show. And it usually goes from 8 to 11 o'clock on Tuesday nights during the season. And, Greg is one of the illustrious callers on CaneSport Live. And I'm trying to remember what he might be right about. I'm sure he'll be telling us tomorrow night. I don't know if he said that Manny was going to be fired. Okay, like that wasn't real hard to predict, but no, Greg loves to give prognostications, and I'm sure he'll have a lot to say tomorrow night. Antonio Griffin says we came on at 7:30 because we were too excited to wait till 8. The truth is, Antonio, we've been trying to get on and do this since probably about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Too much stuff keeps coming up.
Yeah, it's just been one thing after the other. And we finally made it at 7:30. Coconut Cane points out that we took our time. We did it right. We did. We did take our time and do it right. When we reported it was done, it was really done. We didn't try to jump the gun. We ended up being right probably first, but I don't think that really matters. And it's just a great day. As Chugmobile here says, it's a great day for everybody. That's a Miami Hurricane. This is probably, Matt, the most excitement that we've seen around the program. God, since what? Like, I'm trying to remember. Like, this is certainly the most excitement we've seen around a coaching hire. I'm trying to think. I mean, there really haven't been any other great, maybe since, Mark Richt, I think, generated a lot of excitement. He didn't generate this kind of excitement, in my opinion. Your thoughts, Matt?
I keep getting texts and calls. So when Mark Richt came on, it was interesting. I didn't have the same. Look, I can talk for myself. I did not have the same excitement for Mark Richt because it's different to me when a coach is basically let go or fired, whether he's allowed to resign, whatever. And I'd heard some things about Mark that, like he, I don't want to get into personal stuff, but that, maybe he wasn't going to be a great fit at Miami, just sort of where he was in his life at that time. And so I wasn't super excited about Mark Richt. I thought he was a very good coach. I mean, he is a very good coach and was a very good coach. But in terms of a guy that I think can actually be the guy to get this program back where it belongs, I've covered this team since I was there when Butch was here for a little while. That's when I first really started. I can't remember really since 2001 having this level of positivity about the program. I think so. Somebody out there who calls me, I don't know, not a grouch, but whatever, some one of those old fangled, some 90-year-old has dug up the dictionary from the 1920s and found the word curmudgeon. It's very curmudgeonly. And you're right. Like, I said this the other day on one of these, whatever, CaneSport right now, CaneSport Live, CaneSport, blah, blah, blah. I enjoy complaining. Like, that's my thing. Like, when I go to dinner with friends, I'm looking for stuff to complain about. That's my conversation piece. I don't like talking about good stuff. Like, good stuff, you expect that. It's the stuff that you don't like that is a lot of fun to talk about. So thanks, Mario, for ruining all my fun. Everything's going to be great now. But no, it's like there's nothing to complain about. Mario, he's going to do it the right way. He's going to recruit like crazy. And he's going to bring in the right staff. And the biggest question now is going to be how quickly he can get this thing turned around, because there's always, with these Miami fans, and God bless them, they're passionate. But I think Mario probably knows he's not going to go undefeated in his first year.
Listen.
And God forbid he loses to Texas A&M and they spent $8 million on the guy. There's that fan out there who's going to be like, this is not working. Yeah. We need a new coach.
I'm going to say right now, man, it's going to take, it's going to be pretty hard for me, knowing how hard. Here's the thing about Mario. He's not going to win every game year one. No, he's not. But here's what I feel comfortable with. There is nobody on the planet that's going to be working harder to win every game. And you know what? A guy like that deserves some benefit of the doubt. And no, that's not a double standard. I like Manny. I like Mark Richt. I feel very comfortable saying that Mario Cristobal will work twice as hard at least as anybody that's occupied that office in a very long time, since probably Butch. Butch, I think, worked pretty hard and would, grind into the night and stuff. But no, this is a guy that sleeps about 4 hours a night and the other 20 hours a day, he is working, okay? And he's recruiting. And when he goes on vacation, he is recruiting. And you're not going to get sold short for your $8 million. I'll tell you that, University of Miami. And based on the number of calls that I got today, Matt, about this, I bet you they make that money back very quickly just in extra ticket sales. I know a lot of Miami fans that have not been buying season tickets the last few years that are going to be coming back and buying season tickets. All right, any news on assistant coaches? I think you're going to see Alex Mirabal hired as the O-line coach here in the very near future. Not sure what Mario's thinking on the OC. I would keep an eye, though, on Rob Chudzinski. If Rob Chudzinski wants the job, I think he would be able to get the job. I'm sure Ken Dorsey, if not, would be trying to get a look in that scenario. For wide receiver coach, I would keep an eye on Brian McClendon. He was Mario's wide receiver coach at Oregon. Very good recruiter. I think that there's a possibility there that he could get a look as the receiver coach. I think Coach Feld, I think his first name is Aaron Feld. I think it's Aaron Feld, but forgive me if I'm wrong on the first name. But Coach Feld, the strength coach from Oregon, a magnificent strength coach. I would almost bet for sure will be the strength coach here at Miami. I think Stephen Field will be retained possibly as tight ends coach, but he will be part of the program. Another guy that really was underutilized by Manny Diaz, and I expect him to become a very more high-profile part of this program under Mario Cristobal than he was under Manny Diaz. He's a guy that knows how to recruit, knows how to get out there and get it done, and I think we'll see that a little bit more. Defensive coordinator, I'll tell you one name that comes to my mind that I would just keep in the forefront is Clint Hurt, the former Hurricane that was once here as defensive line coach. There were some hiccups there. But I mean, that was what, 10, 15 years ago now?
Yeah, I mean, for those that don't remember, look, Clint is the greatest guy in the world. Super personable, great recruiter, great coach. Yeah. But he got in some NCAA trouble with
he got into a bad situation with, I think it was Ray Armstrong.
Yeah.
When the kids were stranded on the road.
He ended up having to leave because of it.
Well, the kids were stranded on the road, and he let them, I think, sleep at his place or something. I mean, just total stupidity. But, not stupidity on his part, stupidity on the NCAA's part. And but after that, he went to Louisville and worked at Louisville. And now he's been in the NFL for like 7-8 years and is a really high-quality, high-valued coach, defensive coach with the Seattle Seahawks. He's learned under Pete Carroll. He's ready for a coordinator gig, and I could see him being considered if there's not any stop signs that are put up in that regard. Beyond that, I have no idea who the defense coordinator is going to be.
You didn't hear? It's Manny Diaz. They just announced it.
Yeah, could you imagine, man? Speaking of Manny, you can't fad me. Wow, what does that mean? You can't fad me. Like I've heard you like you can't see me like John Cena.
Listen,
Cena does that. You can't see me, and he does this like thing with his hands.
Can you stop right now? Because I've learned from my kids that anything you can't pronounce may be a sexual term, and I just don't do that anymore. I don't know what fad me means, but I am not willing to find out, and I certainly would not say his name again if I were you.
All right, so let's not say his name, but let's talk about his comment. Best show ever. Thank you. We appreciate that. Name we won't say again because we don't know if it has sexual innuendo. We don't know if sexual innuendos are involved, and we don't want to get flagged by YouTube for content that's not acceptable. So we're going to leave that name alone. But he's thanking Manny Diaz for and giving blessings to Manny and his family. And you know what, man? There's a lot to unpack there. Manny was thrown into the job. We've talked about it. Never should have gotten the job. It was too much. Too much for a guy that had never been a head coach, had never won anything, didn't know what a big-time program really was supposed to look like other than his brief time at Texas where he got fired from the best job he ever had. He got fired. And now Blake James throws him into the Miami job. It was athletic director malpractice, totally flawed. I thought we would be sitting here in 4 years. We ended up in 3. Okay, enough of that. We don't have to talk about that anymore. Manny went through a tough time this year. They got off to the bad start. Everybody's against him. Everybody wants him fired. He hangs in there. University of Miami doesn't fire him, I presume, because they don't want to get into the millions of dollars of buyouts and hiring an interim coach. We're not going to argue about that tonight. Matt and I have argued about that.
Listen, let me tell you something. Just because we
have argued about that enough. We're not arguing about
I'm not talking about that. Do you know Washington State had an interim head coach for the last 6 games, and they named him the head coach? I just started researching them. I don't follow Washington State. I got my hands full with Miami, but I found that interesting.
Right. So you might have ended up with, instead of Mario Cristobal, maybe you would have ended up with Todd Stroud as your head coach today, or something like that. Or, I guess it could have been Rhett Lashley or whatever, but he's never been a head coach either. And you know what? That's not what you wanted. This played out exactly as it needed to, other than the fact that I think they should have fired Manny a few days earlier.
Hey, let me ask something, Gary. How many years have you said Mario Cristobal should be the head coach at Miami? How many years has it been?
5 at least.
At least, I think you told me this. I was in grammar school, and you texted me, and you said, "Hey, when you start coming working for me, I think we need to get Mario Cristobal as the head coach." But it's crazy because, you said it so many years ago, and you were friendly with Blake James, you were friendly with the previous athletic directors. You've talked about Mario Cristobal, hey, what do you think about bringing on Mario Cristobal, blah blah blah, and none of them wanted to do it. And now that Mario's finally on the staff, it's almost like you're running the athletic department because it's your idea. You came up with the idea 15 years ago. Maybe Mario Cristobal would be a good coach. And it came to fruition. It's like Back to the Future. It's like you went to the future. You saw Mario could be a great answer. You got the Hurricane Nation all fired up about it. And for the last however many years, you've been saying Mario might be a good coach. Nobody would listen to you. They finally listened to you.
I saw the potential when he was at FIU.
Listen, there's no athletic director right now, so you had as much input as anybody on getting Mario Cristobal to Miami because I didn't hear any ADs making any decisions. I heard Gary Furman for a long time saying Mario Cristobal might be a good fit at Miami.
If I had an impact on that, thank you very much. I hope I did. Okay,
because what do they say? What would Jesus do? It's what would Gary do? That's what somebody just posted. I agree with that.
If I had any impact in that, it is one of the greatest things I've done in my years here. Because
now Philly's trying to take credit for getting Mario. There's no way, Philly. No way. Gary Furman got Mario Cristobal to the University of Miami by himself.
Philly was right there next to me, though, for at least the last couple of years. But
Mario flew here on Gary's private jet.
My private jet.
And that's how it happened. That's the true story.
It has been.
We're gonna write. This is the true story that we're gonna write tomorrow, so everybody knows. Gary was with Mario for the last several days. Hiding in Mario's bathroom, making weird suggestion noises at night that got into Mario's subconscious about how he should come to Miami. And then Gary flew his private jet up to Mario, flew him down here.
Brought him back,
Gary took Mario to Joe's Stone Crabs. Mario loved the Stone Crabs and said, I could do this the rest of my life.
I didn't take him to Joe's Stone Crab, but let me tell you a funny story. I was in Joe's Stone Crab one night, and Mario's not even in town, okay? He's not even in town. And I believe I'm trying to remember who the maitre d' was then. It's not the guy that's the maitre d' now, but the guy that was the maitre d' before the guy now.
Bones? It wasn't Bones? I thought you liked Bones.
I like Bones, but no, it's not Ed who's the maitre d' now. It was the guy before. I can't remember his name. So anyway, I'm just standing there waiting to get in, and Mario's not even in town. And the guy says over the loudspeaker, Mario Cristobal, Coach Cristobal.
Because they saw you.
No. And I'm like, what the hell is this? He's not even there. Somebody was using his name to get into frickin' Joe's on a Saturday night.
First of all, listen, that's not true because whenever they have celebrities, they never say their names. They just usher them right in.
Oh, that's not true at all.
That's what they do for me. They don't say Matt Shodell. They just take me right to the back.
No. There's another time I was there, and this one I knew because I was very good friends with Howard Schnellenberger, and Howard was there with his wife Beverly. They were celebrating Beverly's birthday, and so I'm hanging out with Howard. We're waiting to get in, and Howard's taking pictures, and I'm taking pictures with Howard, and the whole thing it was like a total circus. And then all of a sudden, the maitre d' says, "Coach Schnellenberger, Coach Howard Schnellenberger," and the place just freezes, and you know what a presence Howard had, and then they win and whatever. So they do sometimes say the names because they like it. They like for people to know that famous people are coming to eat there. Let's be honest. Obviously, if it's Kim Kardashian, she's getting whisked to the back room, no doubt, no argument. She's probably coming in the back door.
Listen, they put some of these guys in the main room. I saw Jim Brown ate in the main room with me.
All the time.
Billy Joel was. By the way, Billy Joel. I mean, I might get sued for this, but he was a real dick. I mean, this kid goes up to Billy Joel, and listen, it was Billy Joel was in the middle of dinner, but Billy Joel was sitting at the table right next to us. Of course, we're not going to bother Billy Joel, like whatever. And some kid goes up to Billy Joel and asks for an autograph, and Billy Joel turns to him and says no, just like that, and just turns back and starts eating his food again.
But anyway, you're right. I have been saying Mario Cristobal should be the head coach here for a long time, and it was purely because I felt passionately that he is exactly what this program needs.
But isn't it amazing? This is what's wrong with the program. You knew that, and now even the administration agrees with you. But like the past, it's like how did Blake James not understand this 3 years ago? How did the prior? They could have had Mario and they hired Al Golden. We could have not had to deal with Al Golden or Manny Diaz. And the frickin' administration was, I don't even want to go back to that, but like, it's a joke, man.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on the Al Golden era. I will. I will. Listen, Mario was still developing as a head coach. He was at FIU.
How can you give him the benefit of the doubt when you know how it wound up? Like, that's the whole.
Because Al Golden
had the opposite of what you do.
Al Golden had some street cred to him when he came here.
It doesn't matter because what happened makes it obvious they should not hire him.
But you're playing the result.
You're saying at the time it looked good, but obviously they didn't do their homework because they took a guy who wound up being a real,
I know, but
issue. And anybody who hires their best friend to be their defensive coordinator, like, that's a red flag to me. That's a no thank you. Because like
Mario's going to hire his best friend to be his offensive line coach.
Yeah, but that's not a coordinator job. That's not a job where, listen, the top of the food chain, like when you're a physician, for instance, and I have several family members who are physicians, they always talk about lightning strikes the highest point, right? So the doctors are the ones who get blamed, but the nurses or the different people who administer whatever, they're not the ones who get blamed for anything. Like those assistant coaches, no one's blaming them. The season could go horribly wrong. The offensive line could be awful. You don't have to fire the offensive line coach. You could fire the offensive coordinator. Lightning hits the highest point, right? So, like, that doesn't bother me if your best friend's, like, the recruiting director's nephew or something. Like, whatever, man. Like, I just don't want your best friend to be the offensive coordinator or the defense coordinator or a position. You got to hire somebody really good. And if they suck, that you have to fire them because nobody's firing their best friend. I mean, you would never fire me, right, Gary?
Hell no.
Yeah, okay. I would fire you. I would fire you in a heartbeat. Unfortunately, you're my boss.
but anyway, getting back to what we're talking about.
I would not fire you. I would not fire you.
Let's get back on point here. All right, so listen. Yes, there was no doubt in my mind that he's the right guy for this job. And why has been proven just today. Look at what just today, he probably hasn't even taken his drug test yet, okay? He probably hasn't even peed in a cup yet, all right? Seriously. And look already what is going on with recruiting and the injection of excitement, potential, quality came into the equation for Miami in recruiting on day one before he's even started, doesn't even have a coaching staff yet, okay? Miami has shortchanged itself because it has not had enough elite players in this program, and elite players are the ones that make the difference between winning some, losing some, winning some, losing some, and winning 10 games, for example, like Mario did this year at Oregon with a team that's very young and wasn't really ready to be a 10-win team. He had a terrible quarterback, whatever, but he did have some pretty good players. He had a linebacker, Noah Sewell, who's elite. He had, a decent running back, Jalen Knighton type of running back in Travis Dye, a couple other guys that kind of carried them through some of those Pac-12 games that are very similar to ACC games. They ended up winning 10 games, whatever. The elite players make a difference, folks. And that is how this program needs to get to the next level. It's got to have more elite players on the roster. Mario will be able to deliver that. Next year, he's not going to probably be able to magically transform the program. But I will say this, Miami was the best team in the ACC at the end of the year. And yeah, they got to replace Rambo and some other guys. But Miami was playing pretty darn well at the end of the year. And if they can bring in some good recruits and hit the transfer portal hard, they're going to be competitive next year with Tyler Van Dyke and these receivers and I think the team could be pretty good. So yeah, I've been all over Mario. And hey, Matt, before I get back to the name that we're not talking about, question here, I wanted to show you something. I got us a couple T-shirts today.
Finally, I asked you to get those for me.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. I did. Let me get that other thing off the screen for a minute. So there it is.
Listen, you know how you can manipulate stuff now? I want my face on Luigi and your face on the Mario.
So how do we?
I want you to do that for me.
We've got some guys. I've gotten some emails from some guys in the fan base that are artists, and maybe we can get somebody to kind of doctor that artwork a little bit. We'll stick with the Super Mario.
Yeah, if you can get our faces on there, that'd be great.
Maybe we'll try to get our faces on there, and maybe
I don't know I don't know what the baby is with the red dot. I don't know what that baby's called, but I want Mario's face on that baby in between us. Mario Cristobal's face.
Or maybe like a couple of the posters that are better posters at CaneSport.com.
No.
Not named CD Wright.
Bad idea.
No, we're not going. What is CD Wright going to do?
That's a very bad idea.
Hey, what is CD Wright going to do now? Is he going to become after all these years of sticking up for Mark Richt and Manny and being on and pushing buttons of everybody that was proposing something else? Does he get on the Mario train now? You think? What do you think? Real quick. Let's make a prediction.
I was just looking at something. Ask me the question again.
CD Wright.
Yeah.
The poster on the message.
Does he get on the Mario train?
Does he get on the Mario train now? What do you think?
Listen. CD Wright is very unpredictable. He's like a small child who you tell to do something or you expect to do something after you tell him to do it, and then he just tears up your furniture and runs out the door and you don't see him again for a couple of days. He's unpredictable. I have no idea what CD Wright might do, other than complain about me saying that. I know he's going to complain about that. So
how about that guy Turn? Do you know who he is? The guy Turn.
Tyrn, yeah.
That was cursing out Manny Diaz every single day. We had to delete about 50 posts a day. We gave him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because he wasn't totally wrong about a lot of what he was saying. But I mean, God, the language he used, what's he going to do now? Every single post was just daddy's little boy and daddy's what I can't remember the things he was saying, but what's he going to do now on the message boards?
Listen, it is weird to have a positive vibe around the Miami program. When's the last time there was a legitimate across the board positive vibe about Miami? I think it was probably 2002. No joke. 19 years ago.
Well, the day Mark Richt hired was positive.
Yeah, that's true.
Not to this degree, but it was positive.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And then, you know what, today every new coach is hired, even Al Golden, everyone's always that's true. I mean, look, before every season, everyone's always optimistic. I mean, it's funny, now we can actually document what we were saying before a season because we have these shows. So in the past, you just would have to sort of say it, but now you can actually prove it. So before the season, everybody was super optimistic. Season's going to be great. And you and I were just saying I was saying it's an average team. I think you thought it'd be a little bit better than that because you're always way more optimistic than I am. But I'm this is an average team. It's a very good offense.
I said 9 wins.
And it's not, and I said it's below 7. Average defense. And actually it turned out to be true. I think the offense in the end probably turned out to be even better than I thought it would be because Tyler Van Dyke just blew up. And I think the defense actually turned out to be a little worse than I thought it would be. But I think you said before the season, you thought it would be, I think you said 4-loss team. Something like that.
9. I thought it would be 9-3.
9 wins, right? So not if they win a bowl game, you're not that far off,
Yeah.
But these were the expectations we had, and fans were thinking they could beat Alabama in game 1. This is just how fans are, and nothing's ever as good as it seems, and nothing's ever as bad as it seems because this is real life. And like we were saying, fans probably expect Mario to win every game for the rest of eternity here, and like you said that. There's a small chance that won't happen. So be prepared. He may lose a game. Don't lose your SHIT over it for the children watching. I'll sell it.
You got to let this guy go to work.
My thing is, let's give him. I think it's just knowing how young the roster is. I think in 2 to 3 years,
I agree.
It should be an ACC championship team. They might reach the Coastal Championship next year, but they're not going to be. I don't think if they win the Coastal, if they win the ACC title game next year, I would be surprised right now just looking at the roster, even knowing Mario could bring in a great class. True freshmen, generally, you can't rely on them to be amazing. I do love the young players, but, he's got to really hit the portal hard. And if he strikes gold,
we'll see who he gets in the portal. Yeah,
that's going to be the key. Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. And, people are already asking about Justin Flo. And, I did talk to his dad already today. And his dad said if Justin goes anywhere, it's going to be USC. You know, they're just not big on coming to Miami. He wants to be able to like drive and see the kids. He's got 2 kids there, drive and see the kids. So like that's probably not going to happen. And you know, people are just asking like what's going on with recruiting, and I could give a quick rundown if you want me to, but
let them get that on the website.
Okay,
we don't want to put people to sleep here, but I mean, there's tons of recruiting updates and stuff on the website right now, folks. If you're interested in what's going on in recruiting, take a look at that. But just to finish the name that we're not going to mention anymore because it might have sexual innuendos. Comment here. Does Manny Diaz deserves blessings, right, Matt? I mean, he handled this year with class. He was in a real bad situation the last few weeks. Didn't really lash out until today when he was fired. But I think it's fair that Manny gets some good wishes out the door. Your thoughts?
He's a Hurricane at the end of the day. He's a former Hurricane coach. Why would anybody wish him failure? I mean, he was a failure here. He was set up for failure by a horrible athletic director decision. The athletic director is gone. Manny Diaz is gone. Like, we're moving on. Did he ruin the last 3 years of my life? In retrospect, yeah, he ruined the last 3 years of my life. But
Mario's already ruining the next 3. So you're going to be a miserable SOB, man.
What do you mean ruining? He's going to win games. That's what I'm talking about.
No, but you already said earlier in the show that he's ruining your life.
That's only because I like to complain.
Right.
Yeah, so listen, I'm a lose guy because I can't complain. And then when I can complain, it's because things are really bad. So yeah, listen, I guess I should be depressed. I don't know why I feel so happy. I should be very depressed right now.
I don't know, but I do want to point out, since Brian Clem was so astute to bring this up, that I am again wearing a collared shirt, and you are once again wearing a Gator t-shirt. So
first of all, I downgraded to that, so that way nobody can mess with me. All right,
it's a Gator. That's all you wear is freaking Gators.
You don't know the difference between
you're even wearing Gator colors. Like you got the Gator
blue, an alligator and a crocodile. Do you even know what a crocodile is?
That's a Gator.
Is it the University of Florida crocodiles? Because if it is, then I'll stop wearing the shirt.
All right. Anyway, any word on the AD? Here's what's going on with the AD. Dan Radakovich remains the front runner to get the AD job. But Radakovich, let me think how I want to phrase this because I don't want to speak out of school. Basically, Radakovich and Mario Cristobal need to meet each other. Like they've never met each other. They don't know each other. This has been totally non-traditional. They need to sit down and have a conversation and figure out if they're a good fit for each other. Because
by the way, you're wearing Gator colors. I'm blue. You're orange.
I am not. This is Cane Orange.
But it looks like blue and orange on the screen.
This
you
is
should
my
change that.
CaneSport.com Cane Orange shirt. All right. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong cutoff.
Yeah, right.
I got to, everything's reversed.
Now people actually think I'm a Gator fan. This is a big problem.
Well, I mean, Gator colors, Gator on your chest, whatever. But anyway,
I'm
trying to talk about Dan Radakovich.
You even think about that is a little scary.
They're trying to hear me talk about Dan Radakovich.
I think they're more interested in if I'm a Gator fan or not at this point, honestly. I'm not a Gator fan.
They care about Dan Radakovich.
I'm a Crocodile fan.
By the way, if you don't know who Dan Radakovich is, he's the athletic director of Clemson. It has looked like it's very close to getting done for several days now. But
hold on. Somebody said, Matt, are you wearing
let me speak, please?
No, because somebody posted the funniest thing I ever saw. They said, Matt, are you wearing jorts too? Because you know how those Gainesville people are. That's hilarious. Sorry, go ahead. Everyone knows Dan Radakovich, whatever bitch is coming here. You don't have to keep talking about it.
Matt, I'm still on 7:30 comments. It's 8 o'clock now. You're getting me. I'm falling behind because you won't let me speak. All right, listen. Dan Radakovich, athletic director at Clemson. He has been the front runner for the job for several days. But the way this all went down, obviously, with Mario, with some trustees and boosters working on the side to lure Mario and funding it and everything else was a little non-traditional, quite frankly. And I'm not sure had they gone traditional in this front. And I did mention this to some people today because I'm trying to be a peacemaker now. And there was some pretty heavy infighting during this process on the board of trustees and stuff.
You think? Yeah,
I think. And I'm trying to make the point, because I really believe this, that had they gone traditional and hired a search firm and done everything by the book and all that, I don't think they land Mario, Matt. I don't think they would have had a chance to land Mario. The reason they got Mario today was because these guys have been working for a couple months to put the money and the plan together to put together everything that Mario needs to be successful at Miami. the budgets, the staffing budgets, every budget and everything that he needs was addressed and accommodated. And I'm not sure an AD or a search firm would have been able to pull that off. So Board of Trustee members out there that hopefully are watching this show right now, take my advice as somebody who's been here for a while. These are new times. You got to be fluid, okay? You can't be stuck in your old school ways all the time. And these are non-traditional times in college sports, college football. And you got yourself a great football coach today. And like I said, I'm not sure what would have happened if they did it your way, okay? So any hard feelings that are out there, please lose them. You need to lose them. You need to applaud, Jose Mas, Ruiz, and any of these other guys, Lamonis, or whoever was involved in this. You need to applaud them because they did a hell of a job getting this done today and getting Mario to come here. He's leaving a lot behind at Oregon. Don't ever, ever, ever minimize that because he had everything you could want there, all the money, the facilities, everything. He had a great team, a team that really probably was going to be ready to compete for playoffs beginning next year if they got their quarterback playing well. He had a lot that he left there. These guys got it done. And had the old school, old guard trustees tried to do it, they would have failed. That's one thing. All right, now back to Dan Radakovich, the leader for the AD job. He's never met Mario. Mario's never met him, okay? And if a guy at that level is going to come and be the athletic director at Miami, he needs to be the boss, okay? I mean, let's just tell it like it is. I mean, you can't have – he's not going to be able to deal with his football coach not answering to him and answering to the president's office or answering to these trustees on the side that hired him or something like that. It's a little messy in this regard. This is not a sweetheart hire being made. This is a real athletic director who you're talking about bringing in here. He and Mario are going to have to sit down and talk to each other and come up and discuss it, see if they bond, see if their personalities jive, see if they're on the same page and if they can work together. If they can, I think you're going to see Dan Radakovich named the athletic director at Miami. If they decide they can't, I think you're going to see Dan Radakovich pass on the job, and then Miami will go back to the pool where we believe Tom Jurich might be up next to have that kind of meeting and see if he's a good fit. But with Mario's hire coming before the AD, that's the way it's going to need to play out. If they're going to hire the best AD they can find. So that's the deal with that, Matt. And you know what? I think that's fair. I mean, there's no reason for them to do it any other way. Jeffrey English says they should go get Joe Brady. That's an interesting thought. Matt, fired by the Carolina Panthers as offensive coordinator, did a phenomenal job with Joe Burrow at LSU. You got Tyler Van Dyke coming back next year, a very similar type quarterback, hopefully, to Joe Burrow. And I could see Joe Brady working with him. I just, the question is, it's not going to be anything other than offensive coordinator. We don't know what Mario's thinking, but it's an interesting thought.
I don't know when I'm allowed to talk because I tried to talk.
No, talk because I got to look for some more.
You told me before I'm not allowed to talk, so now I don't know. What
go, man. Go talk.
Here's what I still find super weird, and I'm sort of happy about it. Basically, Mario Cristobal is running the athletic department because he gets to basically pick the athletic director. That's basically what Miami has said with what they're doing. They're not making Dan Radakovich officially the athletic director until he meets with the football coach. What other program in the universe does that and says, we're only going to hire AD if the football coach approves of him and likes him? Like, it's breaking new ground, but I like it because at Oregon, Mario did anything he wanted and got anything he wanted. And basically Miami's saying, if it worked for him at Oregon, and I mean, yeah, he lost 2 of his last 3 and fans are freaked out. Like, he's barely a 500 coach, but I mean, give me a break. FIU killed his career stats. But like, if it worked at Oregon, which I would argue it did work at Oregon, despite those 2 losses to Utah, like, why not do the same thing at Miami and make football the only program that matters? The University of Miami used to pretend that wasn't the case. They used to pretend that every sport was equal. And now they are publicly basically saying with this action, football is the only sport that matters at the University of Miami. And guess what? It's the sport that makes all the money at the University of Miami. It is the sport that matters. Like, we used to write, we used to have, we had a printed CaneSport publication back, I think in the 1920s. And we would paste it up. We'd have ads. We'd paste up. We'd print out the copy and paste it. We'd bring it to the printer. We'd do print runs. It was crazy. Of course, I remember that.
It was unbelievable. We used to have to print out the copy, cut it up, and paste it on boards and stuff. Unbelievable.
Right. Yeah. So back in those days, we would have an entire page which we would call the Olympic Sports Roundup. And I would write that, and it was a nightmare, like trying to write about swimming. And they actually had 2 golf teams back then. They had 2 track teams back then. They've since eliminated the men's side of those for the prop whatever regulations. But we would write about those, and I don't think fans would always have comments about this and that. They'd write us letters and stuff. That was how things worked in those days. And they never once talked about that Olympic sports roundup. It took me more time to write that than it would take me to write an interview story with Mike Trangisi back in those days, So for those of you that go back a long way to the Big East. And by the way, that was one of my first stories I wrote for you was on Mike Trangisi. I don't know if you remember that. One of the first interviews you assigned me was with the Big East.
You're out of my wheelhouse on memory. Will Mario retain Rob Likens, Matt? No chance. No chance. Nice guy.
I think Mario's going to replace almost everybody. Maybe T-Rob stays. The thing is he has money to work with, right? And the previous staff was underpaid, and guys like Patke and DVD and some of these other guys that really wouldn't get high level, jobs at high level programs anywhere else in the similar capacity. I just don't see why you'd keep them. Like Stephen Field has a great rapport and he knows Mario. That makes a lot of sense. Some of the guys in the recruiting department, like David Cooney, who has a lot of ties to the community, they make sense to keep. T-Rob, I just think is a great coach. I've seen him work. He's the guy that's out on that practice field yelling at players and showing that he cares. Not going through the motions like you see some of these other coaches on the practice field. Like we can tell just from watching for 45 minutes of practice once a week during the season who's giving it their all as a coach, and he's one of them. So I hope they make an effort to retain him. I'm not even sure he wants to stay, but if he does, I would certainly retain T-Rob. But beyond those guys, I don't know who else you would keep, quite honestly. Field
will get kept, Cooney will get kept, Feely will have a chance.
I love Feely. Feely's great. Yeah, I'm not talking about the strength.
He'll have a chance in some role. He'll have to probably work under Feld, but he'll have a chance to stay, I think. Mario gave David Feely his first job in football, so he's obviously a fan. Hey, your relative Showboy Can's back, Matt, and he wants to know if Manny was ever able to have a team meeting with the players. I never checked on that today with everything else that was going on. It just wasn't that important. I know they had a team meeting scheduled. I'm not sure if it was held before or after Manny was dismissed. So can't really answer that. Matt's relative Showboy Cane. Let's see. Lamarticus the Great, my buddy, my cohort on Wednesday nights, the Lamar Thomas show. Sadrach Dorse. That doesn't have sexual innuendos, does it?
Again, if you're not sure, don't say it, man.
If
somebody's got a sad rack, that's probably pretty bad.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If it's a sad rack and it's a woman,
I don't want to mess with those sad racks.
Yeah,
no, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, all right, we're going to stay away from this name too. Well, anyway, he wants Lamar Thomas to be the wide receiver coach. Great idea. Lamar and Mario played together.
Lamar can't be the receivers coach. He does a show for CaneSport every Wednesday.
Yeah, we would lose him. Yeah, we would lose his show. Yeah, we'd have
Lamar's got his priorities straight. He's not leaving CaneSport for the University of Miami wide receivers position. There's no chance. Sadrach, Dorche.
Don't say it.
We had to.
Yeah, God damn, you're gonna get us kicked off YouTube.
I don't care.
We're gonna get. It's bad enough. The other day, we're doing the Lamar Thomas show, okay, and we had Mike Harley on the show last week, and I throw up Mike Harley highlights from the Duke game, okay, talking about how great Mike Harley did and to set all those records against Duke. I get a freaking copyright infringement notice from YouTube because somebody was claiming copyright on those clips of Mike Harley that we put in the show for about 10 seconds. It's like, so, we got to be careful about copyright infringements and stuff like that. Lamar's probably, he and Mario were teammates for 4 years, okay? Know each other very well. But I have a feeling that Mario's going to bring this Brian McClendon guy from Oregon to be the receivers coach. If he does not do that, then I think that there's a chance that Lamar could get a look from Mario. We'll see how that one goes. stadium. People are all fired up about the stadium at Lejeune and Bird Road, Matt. I seriously would not hold my breath.
Listen, I could walk to that stadium, but there's a 0% chance that any resident in Coral Gables is going to let that happen. I mean, well, Miami barely was able to build the on-campus basketball arena, and when they built it, they had an allotment for a certain number of seats, and they fought for years to try and get their extra seats. So they put space in to add those, and they still can't get it approved. And now you're going to put 50, 60,000 seats? Yeah, good luck. The best part was, and we haven't really chased that story down yet because it just doesn't make any sense, but the best part was like the Herald followed up with a story and spoke to him, and he's like, yeah, I haven't even really talked to Miami about it yet. So like,
never even discussed it with Miami.
I had an announcement. I'm going to build a stadium.
Yeah, we're going to build a stadium. Yeah,
I haven't talked to Miami yet, but I'm going to form a team, and I'm going to have an amazing team of people. And we're going to build the stadium in my backyard, and we're going to charge everyone $50 to come. It's going to be awesome.
Can we buy the naming rights for like maybe $10 or something? We'll call it CaneSport Stadium. What do you think?
Listen, if they can actually build a stadium, that would be amazing. I just know it won't be in Coral Gables. I think there's other opportunities if the guy really wants to spend his money on this, which, we'll see. Sometimes you have guys like this that just want their name out there and they want to get publicity for their companies or whatever. Like, I hope this isn't the case with this guy. From what I've heard, he may not even be a really big donor right now. So, like, maybe he'll all of a sudden become one. But, like, if he wants to pony up his own money with not much return for it for the University of Miami, great. I have a feeling that's probably not his goal. So, like, it's going to be really interesting to see if he ever does talk to Miami, if they ever try to get permits pulled and break ground on this. If that happens, great. But generally, when I've seen this, like, people don't talk about it without talking to Miami first, that they're going to do it and announce it publicly on Twitter, and then go and maybe sometime talk to Miami, hey, I'd like to do this. Like, usually they talk to Miami first, get the wheel moving, like, officially, and then maybe you have a press release, like, from Miami saying we're working with so-and-so and we're excited to announce blah, blah, blah. That's usually how it works. Like, this is super unorthodox. I've never seen anything quite like it. Like, just some guy with a lot of money saying, I'm going to build a stadium. I haven't talked to Miami about it yet. So, Like, I'm not holding my breath, but it would be great. It would be great if he does it.
All right, Ed Reed status from Logan C., a guy that's got a normal screen name. Ed Reed status, hard to say. I know one thing. Mario Cristobal is not going to have Ed Reed standing around, doing nothing like the Ed Reed of the current staff was doing. Like, literally making very little impact, not around very much, not allowed to really have a lot of input. That was a total joke. That was a PR ploy by Manny, quite frankly, and it was ridiculous. So is Mario going to want a guy like that? I don't know.
By the way, in my opinion, just like Al Golden's downfall was not firing Mark D'Onofrio, with a great defense coordinator, I think he would have survived at least another few years. I think that in many ways, Manny Diaz's downfall was the hire of Ed Reed. And I do remember you were pushing hard publicly for Alonzo Highsmith at the time. And Alonzo Highsmith made a lot of sense for the issues Miami was having. They didn't have a great talent evaluator in the football office. They didn't have a guy who had those local connections to all these high schools and the inner city schools that weren't coming to Miami. And Manny did not want to deal with somebody, just like Blake James didn't want to deal with Mario Cristobal, who, fans who don't know Mario, man, he's a handful to deal with because it's his way or the highway. And what he thinks is right is right. Like, he doesn't care if he's wrong at the end.
But he knows. I mean, he knows.
I'm sure he's made some mistakes where he thought it was right and it's wrong, but he's going to push 100% for what he thinks is right. So anyway, for me, just like Blake didn't want to deal with Mario, Blake maybe could have been saved. I think Blake's biggest mistake was not hiring Mario. Obviously, that's just obvious. But with Manny, he had a chance to have somebody who would actually tell him, no, you're wrong about something. All he had was yes men around him. If he had a guy who could have said, you can't do it this way, or you can't recruit like that, or whatever, or like, you got to offer this kid, you got to visit these kids. Like, Manny, you need to be more personable as a recruiter. When I just saw you at that freaking picnic on June 1st with all the top recruits, you didn't talk to a single one of them, or were standing there talking to your coach.
Remember that? This is God honest truth, everybody. It's the truth.
What? If Highsmith was there, he would have gone right up to Manny and been like, what the hell is wrong with you? Get over there and talk to Shamar Stewart. Get over there and talk to Wesley Bissainth. Get over there and talk to XYZ recruits. He wouldn't have put up with that, but these other schmoes are just like, okay, he's my boss. He wants to
He didn't have a passion. He didn't have a passion for recruiting.
Right. But I would say that was his biggest mistake because Alonzo would have set him straight, man. Alonzo doesn't, he doesn't hide what he thinks. And that, to me, that was Manny's biggest downfall. He's, not hiring Alonso was basically the same thing to me as not firing Mark D'Onofrio for Al Golden. It was bringing in Ed Reed just as a cushy guy. Ed Reed told us on his first press conference, I'm not going to be here a lot. Like, he literally told us that his first press conference. I have other priorities. I'm not going to be here a lot, but I'm always available for them to reach out to me for any questions and help. That's what he told us his first press conference. This is the guy who Manny brought in to silence the noise, the used cars salesman thing that everyone talks about. Like, this is why. Yep. And to me, that was his biggest downfall. I like Manny as a person a lot. And I like the assistant coaches a lot, all of them. I'm trying to think if there's one I don't like, because usually there's one guy I just don't like a lot.
No, these are all good guys.
I think I like them all. I think I liked all the assistants this year.
Yeah,
so
they're good guys.
I'm just telling the truth.
I don't think we're going to be seeing any of them for much longer, but they're good guys. So be interested to see how they organize the bowl game coaching staff. I mean, that's going to be a challenge. All right, what's Zoe's status? We might as well transition to that since we were just talking about him. Zoe's waiting to see who the athletic director is. If it's Dan Radakovich, I'm not sure he'll have a role or will or won't, not sure. If it's Tom Jurich, I feel confident that Zoe will have a role. So we just got to see who the AD ends up being, and then that'll be determined. T-Rob and DVD, I think they got a chance. We'll see. I don't know what Mario's thinking there, but I think they got a chance because they can recruit. And, they've shown that they can recruit. What difference will Alex Mirabal make? It's going to make a huge difference. Wait till you see. If you guys don't know who Alex Mirabal is, he's like, it's the funniest damn thing in the world. He's 5'5", can't weigh more than 150 pounds. I mean, skinny, short, the whole thing. He is the toughest SOB you'll ever see in your life. And he coaches these 320-pound offensive linemen and gets up in their faces and stuff. I mean, it is unbelievable. You're in for a treat watching Alex Mirabal coach. I'll tell you that.
And by the way, can you imagine how good this offense will be if they can get a good offensive line? Because Mario is an offensive line guy. They both know offensive line inside and out. And that's been the weakness of this program. Like, if they can run the ball successfully behind a really good offensive line with TVD at quarterback, like, who's going to stop this offense? I mean, it's amazing the potential if they can get maybe some offensive linemen in the portal, or maybe bring in some late, signee type guys that are really good on the offensive line, and jettison some of these guys on the current roster to make some room. Because, like, we wrote a story today about, I wrote the story on the numbers, and I was looking at the offensive line, and I don't want to say we because I don't know if you agree with me, but there's like a few guys in the offensive line I pointed out in that story, and I said, these are guys they can get rid of. And I almost didn't include John Campbell because Manny Diaz, he had talked, it was either him or Garen Justice talked about how John Campbell's coming back and he'll be a starter on the tackle, even with Jared Williams leaving. He's got experience as a starter. But, like, you and I have seen John Campbell in practice, and we've seen him in games. And, like, I've never seen anything he's done and said, wow, this guy's an athletic, big-time left tackle who's going to make plays and stop really good athletic defensive ends. Like, they're going to have to do some serious analysis on that O-line, cut some guys loose to bring in some transfers and make some extra room, because the roster is so tight with that 85 number. They've got the offensive lines where you can cut the fat. There's probably 3 or 4 guys you can get rid of on that offensive line right now if they have the guts to do it and don't mind pissing off the rest of this team that likes those guys. They got the guts
to do it. With a new coach coming in, it doesn't take much for them to do.
I mean, Kelvin Banks did decommit, but people seem to think he's going to Texas A&M now. A lot of these kids, they're not from this area. If they were South Florida kids, like, it's a lot easier. If they've already visited Miami, it's a lot easier. If they already know about Miami, this is 6 days from signing day. To get a 5-star kid who everybody in the country has already recruited and wanted, and Miami never went after him, it's tough. And I'm sure Mario's going to try his best. But if he doesn't visit here this weekend, I mean, it's just not going to happen. Like, you got to get the kid on campus this weekend. And if he doesn't come, then that's that.
Kane for Life is making a great point here. The college football world of experts did not want this. They don't want the U relevant again. There's a little.
That's totally wrong.
Oh, it's not wrong at all. This has been talked about in places like Alabama and Georgia for years.
Yeah,
the last thing that they ever wanted to see was Mario Cristobal in the head coach's office at Miami, because they know it's going to be harder to get kids out of South Florida now.
But, okay, well, I thought he was talking about the media. I don't know who the college football world of experts. I assumed he's talking about the ESPN talking heads and those guys. Do you think he's talking about college coaches?
Oh, I don't know, but I will tell you let's talk college coaches.
Coaches don't like this. Of course not. But I think that if you're talking about the national media, they love hating Miami. But by love hating Miami, they like this because Miami hasn't been even a team they could hate on because they've been so bad. Now Miami could be in the national picture and they could hate on him again and keep picking against them in meaningful games, which I think they'd like to do a lot more than who cares about Miami, which is what it is right now.
JP50 wants to know if Mario's coaching the bowl game. There's no way. I mean, there's no way he's coming in to be head coach of the Miami Hurricanes in the bowl game. That'll fall to somebody on the current staff. I think T-Rob might be asked to do that. Todd Stroud might be asked to do that. I'm trying to think who else would potentially.
I mean, listen, Washington State's also missing coaches that have left, so it's going to be, the kids running the show in this game. It's going to be interesting to watch. I don't even know how many coaches will be on the sideline for both teams in this game.
Zach Lesnar asks a hysterical question. What do you think is going to happen to the turnover chain and touchdown rings, Matt? I think Manny's going to take them because Manny owns the turnover chains and touchdown rings. Like, those are his personal possessions. So,
are you sure about that? I thought the school paid for them.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't. I think they are Manny's. But I got to. This is a great question, Matt. They have them in a case, I think, in the lobby of the Schwartz Center. The previous ones. Does Mario might demand that those be removed. I'm telling you.
I mean, didn't Oregon have its own version of the turnover chain or something? Or am I making this up?
No, there's no chance. Mario would never allow that.
There's a turnover chainsaw or something, I thought. No?
I don't think so.
Yeah, here it is. I'm looking at a picture of it.
At Oregon?
Is it? Or was it Oregon State? Maybe it was Oregon State that
Probably
had
Oregon
that.
State.
Oregon State had that.
Mario would have any of that kind of
stuff. Yeah,
it's
Oregon State. Oregon defense. Here we go. Here's the story. Oregon defense creates its own version of Miami's turnover chain. The guy is wearing a chain in the Arizona game from 2017, though. That's pretty funny.
Rocky McMillan makes an interesting point here. Would Randy Shannon be the defense coordinator? I don't think so. I don't think so.
I mean, people seem to look. The perception right now is people seem to think Miami's going to switch to a 3-4. I personally would be surprised because Miami's always thrived as an attacking 4-3. But it's going to depend really on who the defense coordinator is. Yeah, look, I agree. I don't think Clint Hurt. I would love to see an experienced college defense coordinator.
I'm not promoting Clint Hurt. I just want to set that straight for Johnny D. Another clean name. Good. We don't have to worry about that.
You were saying he would maybe be a good fit at defense
coordinator. I said he might be a candidate. I mean, that's a guy that might want the job. Now, I don't know what Mario is going to think about that. I know that he, was somewhat under consideration last year at Oregon to be the DC before Mario hired that crappy coach from Cal that didn't do a very good job for him this year. But I don't know, man. I'm not promoting anything. I'm just saying that he might end up as a candidate.
By the way, I'm going to ask you a question. You put my question up on the screen. When's the last time Miami had a coach that enjoyed recruiting as much as Mario Cristobal does? A head coach that enjoys it as much as Mario? I would argue never.
You're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. I would say never, right? Has any other head coach you can remember?
I've never seen a coach more passionate about recruiting than Mario.
No.
He was like that as an assistant from day one. I think where he learned it was he started out as a GA at Miami under Butch Davis, who was a big recruiter. Then he goes to Rutgers to work for Greg Schiano, who is absolutely a very high octane recruiter. And it just became part of his DNA, And then when you go work for Nick Saban, obviously that's a big part of it too. But he had already had it when he was head coach at FIU. He is as passionate as any head coach you'll ever see. Let's see. Joel Hogu, hopefully that's a clean name, I think, wants us to speak on the narrative that Manny was done wrong and his response of disappointment, which I guess he's referring to the statement that Manny put out today. Manny was done wrong, should have been fired 9 days ago. But the reason they didn't do it is because they didn't want the team exposed to the transfer portal. And I understand that. And I guarantee you,
way longer than 9 days ago, but okay.
All right, but my point is I guarantee you that was a directive coming from Mario. No doubt in my mind. Because there is no way Mario wanted all these players to be exposed out there in the portal for people to poach while they didn't know who the head coach was going to be at Miami. And Matt and I have debated that incessantly. We're not going to do it anymore.
Well, no, I agree with that about the transfer portal. But what I don't agree with is they should have got rid of him a long time ago. Players wouldn't have transferred that quickly at that point.
We've beaten that to death. We're not going to go there anymore.
Yeah.
The John Ruiz Stadium Initiative, listen, that's great. The guy's got a lot of money. I hope he donates a lot of it to Miami football. I don't think he's building a stadium at Lejeune and Bird Road. Okay, so if they focus on a better location, like a tropical park, maybe I could see him maybe getting hooked up with the Moss brothers who own the soccer team and getting involved in the project at Melreese Golf Course, which is by the airport. I hate the location. I don't understand why they would.
Here's the thing: if it's not near campus, why go away from an NFL stadium to a stadium like that? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Stay at Hard Rock. You got a $1 billion.
If it's not near campus, it makes no sense.
$1 billion stadium. You've got all the tailgating room that you need. You got parking. You know, I understand it's inconvenient for the students to take a bus, but you know, it really should not be an issue if they can't build a good stadium at Tropical Park. Rocky McMillan, again, Matt wants an innovator on offense, kind of like what Rhett Lashley bought. I would agree, but you know what? Like, I think that's overblown also. I mean, was there really, other than the trick plays where they threw the ball to Will Mallory sneaking out on out of the flat and stuff, like, it wasn't really, I wouldn't say the Miami offense was innovative the last couple of years, Matt. I mean, you know, there were good days, there were bad days, and whatever, but
I think what he means is he just wants a spread hurry up attack is all he means, because good offense is just good players. You can run a spread hurry up that's awful, and you're just going to put up a lot of points against your own team because your defense is on the field so much. So I think what he means is he wants to keep a similar style of offense with really good players that score a lot of points. That's innovative. Scoring a lot of points is innovative.
Philly's begging for some respect here.
I gave Philly love already.
He says he's been screaming for Mario since FIU in 2012. No,
right.
Mario wasn't ready for this job in 2012. I'm sorry. This is nine years later. He's ready for this job now. He wasn't ready in 2012 at FIU. He was still developing as a head coach. And I've always been a Mario fan from day one. I would be the first to say in 2012 that he wasn't ready to be the head coach of Miami yet. Now he is, no doubt. Jay Bateman for DC, I don't think so. You know, we got a bunch of Will Muschamp please for DC. I could, you know, that's a thought.
So by the way, you know, since we're talking about Gary for the Heisman,
I like this guy. He wants me to win the Heisman.
Yeah. Since we're talking about recruiting stuff, I was going to tell a couple of a couple of recruiting stories that struck me. You know, when you're talking about how much Mario loves recruiting. So I'll just share a couple of tidbits while you're going through all these if you want. Do you want me to go share a couple?
He's pointing out, he says Philly was saying Mario would not take the Miami job until a week ago. So we got a little Philly debate, and he's throwing out the name Kevin Steele also. But go ahead. What were you saying?
I was going to tell a couple of good recruiting stories from Miami history. Not Mario related, but just because Mario loves recruiting, to let people know like what happens on these visits, right? Because these coaches go into families' homes and you don't always know what to expect. So I'll tell a couple of them. Two of my favorite stories. So one of them was with Randy Shannon. Randy Shannon had these lunches for the media, and he actually was nice enough to write down a play for my at the time 7-on-7 football team that we should run, which did not work because they didn't realize we were a bunch of slow white guys, Jewish guys rather, that were not going to be able to defend anything. But anyway, so Randy also told me that day the key to him for recruiting is a lot of times he goes into these families' houses, and a lot of them are first generation, kids going to college. The family's somewhat uneducated, and he says what he learned, it took him a while to learn it. Is when you sit down, a lot of times the bedroom is the kitchen, is the living room. It's just a one-room house, and these families are sharing one room, which is really sad in itself. But he says what he learned is when he sits down on that couch, and there's only one couch for the whole family, he says when that roach runs up your leg, don't brush it off and don't jump, because this is like the family lives in this. And, if they think you're like basically like them, like one of them, like you're part of that family, and if you're like, oh my God, and react weird, like, they feel like you're from just sort of a different type of place than them. And that's what Randy told me. And that stuck with me. And then the only other thing I'll tell you is one of my favorite Art Kehoe recruiting stories, which he loves to tell, is when he and I think it was Gary Stevens, he said, went to Jeff George's house to try and recruit him to Miami, right?
I remember that. Yeah.
And he says beforehand, they were warned. I don't know who warned them. They were warned, whatever you do, Jeff's dad has his chair. It's like the Archie Bunker chair. Like, do not sit in that lazy boy recliner when you get in that house, because that dad's going to be super pissed. And Art's like freaking out about it. You know, he says, you know, Gary, how do we know which chair it is, whatever? And Gary says, don't worry about it. And they walk in, and Art says, first thing you see is this obviously amazing like recliner chair, and then all the other chairs are like shit. He says, Gary Stevens runs over to that recliner and sits right down in it before the dad can get in that chair. and the dad has to sit in a shitty chair. And Art says, like, Gary just took control of that whole recruiting situation. And they had a great recruiting visit with Gary sitting in the dad's chair the whole time. And, you know, they thought they were going to get Jeff George. They didn't. Mainly because I think Jeff George had a few different factors I'm not going to get into. But, like, that was another one of my favorite stories, was that Gary Stevens ran to get Jeff George's dad's chair before Jeff's dad could sit in it. I love that.
I miss Gary Stevens, man. He was one of the all-time best. We'd go on road trips, and you always had to make sure on Friday nights on the road that you, by like about 9 o'clock at night, that you were hanging out at the bar at the hotel where the team was staying, because Gary would always come down and have a little pop, you know, and he'd sit at the bar and just talk football and yuck it up with you for at least an hour or two on Friday nights. And those are just some of my fondest memories of covering the Hurricanes all these years. All right, Andy Mayday's a little annoyed at us, Matt, because we didn't do a Good Morning CaneSport yesterday. After we did a 2-hour CaneSport Right Now show. Andy, thank you so much for liking that show. It's just, if we do this show, we've pretty much covered everything. It's hard for us to turn around and just do it all over again and call it Good Morning CaneSport. Like tomorrow, we probably won't do Good Morning CaneSport. You'll probably find this show at the top of our Good Morning CaneSport feature, just because we're talking about pretty much the news of the day right now. But most days, we're not doing this show. This is a breaking news show, really, and we will do Good Morning CaneSport on most days. We promise. Nicholas Powell says if the Canes got a new stadium, the crowd would be fierce. Yeah, I think if you get a good team in Hard Rock, the crowd will be fierce too. I don't think it's the stadium's fault that the team's been so bad. Falcon X here makes a great point. Like, wow, I love that avatar, by the way. That is one of the best avatars of all.
You know what that's from?
No.
I'm pretty sure that's from A Clockwork Orange, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Well, I like.
That's not a picture of Falcon ERX, if that's what you're wondering.
Falcon ERX. Does
It's not a picture of him.
X doesn't stand for like X-rated or anything, right? Like Falcon.
God, I hope not. Falcon or X, maybe. I don't know.
All right. Well, anyway, yeah, that Notre Dame game in 2017 when the team was actually undefeated and was like decent. Was there any problem with the crowd and the atmosphere at Hard Rock that night? Don't think so. Get the team good enough. I think Hard Rock can be just fine, except for the fact that it is a pain in the butt for the students to have to take a 45-minute bus ride. But if you start getting them buses with bars on them, like, those party buses, and just have a bar on the bus, University of Miami, bend the rules a little bit. I don't think the students could care less about the 40. Actually, all you really need is a keg. Just have a keg on every bus. They'll be fine.
Right?
They won't mind the bus ride. It'll almost be a fun part of their week. But if you're going to build a stadium, I think it needs to be a tropical park. It needs to be really good. Like, don't build a stadium and have it be average, and do it in stages and stuff like that. Man, come on, greatness inspires greatness. He wants to fire my butt too.
Oh my God, you're so far behind. That's like from an hour ago, man.
No, I'm at 7:58. What time are you at? Oh my God.
Yeah, like an hour ago.
How am I ever going to get caught up, Matt?
You're not going to.
We got to get caught up. We can't do 2-hour shows every single night, because the people that don't watch it from the beginning, they don't have time to watch a 2-hour show. So we gotta try to get through these.
We probably have a lot of news to cover too. Like I don't know. I got to get it's probably some calls we got to make at some point.
Well, we'll get through it. But
yeah,
Kuczynski would be a huge pickup. Totally agree. he doesn't run the traditional college football offense, but he obviously knows offense inside and out and would certainly be able to adapt and put in a few RPO plays. Like, it's not rocket science. We were talking about Turn earlier. This is what he used to say. And he would say this in every thread. Those of you that aren't on our message board yet, please join CaneSport.com and come join us. We really want everybody to be part of this festival of happiness that we have now on our hands. But Turn is one of our illustrious posters at CaneSport.com, and he would post this 20 times a day. Screw Daddy's little coach in training. Get him out of here. What must be done eventually must be done immediately. And he would post that so many times a day, and it was kind of funny, actually. But like, he would throw curse words in there and stuff, and we'd have to I mean, it was brutal trying to moderate that guy, but he finally got his way. Haven't been on the boards enough to see what he's saying today, but yeah, he did finally get his way. We don't know what style of defense or who the DC is going to be yet. I don't think it'll be real long. I think Mario has interviewed so many coaches the last few years to fill his coordinator spots that he has probably got a pretty good idea who he wants to bring here. I'm not expecting, this to go on very long. CD Wright says he's predictable. He says he's going to support.
That. I didn't look at the threads that much on the side, the comments.
Yeah, he's going to support whoever the head coach is. So he is going to be on the Mario train.
All right. How about that?
That's good to know. All right. We got a little bit of a hater here. He says we're acting like Mario's a savior. He's barely 500 record as a head coach. All right. Here's number one. He takes over FIU. Okay. Now, I was there. I saw what FIU was when he took the job. I went over there. It wasn't even a high school level facility. Okay. They had no facility. Number one. Their weight room was literally a broom closet in the student union. This is no lie. Okay. They were on probation. Their players were in academic trouble. It was the biggest disaster of a football program that you would ever see in your life. So yeah, he didn't win too many games the first couple of years. You're going to hold that against him? Scratch that off his record for starters. Okay. There were one or two bad years at the end at FIU. If you want to knock them, knock them. Okay. They had a couple bad years at the end. I don't remember what all the circumstances were of that, but it was used as a reason to fire him. Okay, mad applause to Pete Garcia. Where has it gotten them, and where have they been since they fired Mario? No place. Okay, but he got the head job at Oregon. They were 4-8. Okay, before he got the head job at Oregon, he's done a pretty damn good job at Oregon. They played for 3 straight Pac-12 titles. Okay, so like, I can appreciate Slim Shady. You clearly, for whatever reason, want to be a Mario hater, a Mario antagonist, but you really don't have a lot of leg to stand on. And William Merriweather here, he's calling you out, man. He's saying you're bad. Your hate is bad. And he loves it, and he says that you are no real Cane fan. And I'm telling you, if you're looking to throw shade on Mario Cristobal on his first day on the job because he has a 500 record as a head coach, when you're paying absolutely zero attention to any reason why he would have taken those losses and what the circumstances were in that regard. All right. Kirk Herbstreit getting a shout out from Chris Gons. No argument there. He put them over the edge. He definitely put them over the edge in terms of wanting to pay attention to the football program. No argument at all. Scott Waldrop wants to know if you could order CaneSport magazine to go to his house.
How great is that? How great is that? That's when we're talking about pasting up the boards and bringing it over to the printer. I mean, those were the days, man. Saturday games, Sunday all day in the office writing stories and printing the paper.
What I used to go through to get that publication of people's homes was unbelievable. First of all, if you lived out of town and you didn't pay for first class mail, you had no shot. Okay, there was no way the second class mail was getting to you the week after the game. Okay, if you got first class, you got it. Locally, I had to hire a delivery service that delivered USA. I think it was USA Today and the Sun Sentinel and stuff around town. I'd hired delivery service to flip papers and magazines out of their car while they were delivering the morning newspapers, because otherwise there was no way to get them delivered. Like, you would think, I don't care what class of mail you use, you would think that things could get delivered within 4 or 5 days. No, it was never the case. We went through hell getting those things delivered.
Hey, by the way, what was your intro for Cyber King? Wasn't it like the 1-900 number? Be like, hello, thank you for calling Cyber King.
Yeah,
wasn't that what it was?
Yeah, that was when online began. The internet wasn't here yet, and we had like 6 servers in our office, and we had modems attached to the servers. I think we had like something like 10 modems that were rigged up to these servers, and our subscribers that subscribed to Cyber King could call in, and we used to do recruiting updates and stuff like we used to do on the 900 lines back in the day.
Remember, we used to get videos from every single recruit. We'd piece them together and print out VHS tape, and we'd create VHS tapes.
Yeah, VHS tapes, yeah.
That people would buy for like the highlights of those kids those years. By the way, I still have some old CaneSport magazines in my closet.
Antonio Griffin saying that he always said Miami had the money. No, they didn't always have this kind of money to do this with it. The hospital's making a lot of money, so the school has a lot of money, and a lot of this money that's now being thrown into football, I think, is being privately raised from the Jose Mas Group and Ruiz and probably a few others. I think Lamona's donated a few million and whatever. David S., he wants you silenced. He wants you muted, Matt. Here, I'm gonna give him a 5 minute. I'm gonna put Matt on mute. Matt is now on mute for 10 seconds. He cannot say a word. In honor of you, David S., we've got you moved. Now I got to unmute him. So let me unmute him. There we go. He's back. Matt, Slim Shady says he doesn't know anything, man. This is one angry dude. And, man, this is a happy day, Slim Shady. This is a festival of happiness at the U today on this Monday. And, man, like, take a deep breath, smell the roses, man. This is a day to celebrate and be happy that you now have a football coach that I guarantee you at 9:00 at night here is not sitting on his couch watching a Monday Night Football. He is working on recruiting right now. I promise you, unless he's having dinner with Dan Radakovich, trying to see if they can work together as AD and head football coach. Oh, here we go. All right, CD, let's talk about this. I'm a hypocrite. I was all about the search firm when they hired Manny, and now they're hiring my boy Mario. Not so much. Fair criticism, CD, except here's what I'm going to say. If you're going to do a targeted hire, okay, are you going to do a targeted hire for a coach that was fired from the best job he ever had, has never won anything of any significance in the sport of college football, had never recruited anybody of any significance at all. Like I said, was fired from the best job he had as defense coordinator at Texas because he got absolutely taken to school way too many times and was getting Mac Brown fired, which ultimately happened anyway. Okay, that was your targeted hire that you're calling me out for, Christopher Wright, as opposed to this, a guy that is universally considered one of the top recruiting head coaches in the country. As an assistant coach, was named National Recruiter of the Year and National Offensive Line Coach of the Year on separate occasions, who got his education from Greg Schiano, Nick Saban, Butch Davis, okay, who, as a head coach in the last 3 years, played for 3 straight Pac-12 titles, won the Rose Bowl. What am I leaving out, Matt? Listen, Chris, listen, there's no comparison, okay? I appreciate that you want to call me out that they didn't use a search firm. I get it. But if you're targeting Mario Cristobal here, you don't need a search firm, okay? And you couldn't, and I'll even go out on a limb, like I said at the beginning of the show. Had they gone the traditional route and used a search firm, I don't think they would have gotten Mario Cristobal. I don't think it ever would have gotten to this point. And I think they would have got bogged down in all the details and all the needs and all the requests. It was only because this sideline group was working on this with Mario's agents, I presume, for all these weeks, that they were able to put it all together to present to Mario, I guess Saturday, and that he accepted. When do season tickets go back on sale? Matt, I feel pretty confident if somebody called 1-800-GO-CANES right now that they would sell them season tickets.
You think? I think they should be promoting everything right now at Miami, you know? No doubt.
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable that that they'll sell season tickets. In fact, call the ticket office, 1-800-GO-CANES. Ask for my friend Mackie Firestein, great guy who works over there. Tell him that Gary and Matt from CaneSport told you to call, and that he should take care of you guys and make sure you get good seats with good views and everything. And I feel pretty confident that that they'll sell you season tickets absolutely right now. All right, I'm not seeing a whole hell of a lot of new stuff here, Matt. And I'm still like way behind, so I'm trying to get through this. So when I find the next one, I'm going to let you talk so I can keep looking for more.
So I can talk now? I'm allowed to talk?
How do you think Manny's taking the firing? Go ahead, take that one.
I'm not taking that one. I'll make up my own subject. So somebody asked Manny taking the firing seriously. Somebody asked, like, what's my favorite recruiting call today? And I would say my favorite recruiting call today, no one's going to believe me, but it's true, is my very first call. Like, who do you think the first call was? Like, when I found out Manny Diaz was fired, obviously we found out within minutes, and we knew anyway that Mario Cristobal was going to be hired officially. So, you know, who do you think I picked up the phone and called? I know you're looking at stuff, Gary, but who do you think the first call I made to out of all the recruits in the country that maybe I could have called, you know, that 5-star offensive line commit at Oregon? Who?
Shamar Stewart, Nigel E. Kelly.
No, I called Earl Little Jr. Actually, I take it back. I called Earl Little Sr. first because we have some very nice long conversations. He didn't answer. I left him a message, and I called Earl Jr., even though I figured Earl Jr. should be in school and probably wasn't in school. And Earl Little Jr. and I have had a very good relationship. You know, we've talked a lot back in the day, and then over the last month and a half when he ruled out Miami, he doesn't talk so much. You know, I text him once in a while, hey, you still considering Miami? Call him once in a while, he doesn't really answer. So I called him, and it took one ring, and he answered the phone. And he's like, hey, I'm in class, Matt. And I'm like, oh, geez, you know, I'm so sorry. I'm like, but I got to ask you this question. Normally, I'd just be like, you know, I'm so sorry, you know, just let me know a good time to call. Text me when's a good time to call or whatever, you know. But not this time. I'm like, listen, Mario's the new coach. Will you consider Miami? And he's like, oh, yeah, yes, I'll consider Miami, you know, but I'm in class. I got to go. And I'm like, all right. So that was my favorite call. My second favorite call was another student athlete who was in class, and that was Nigel E. Kelly. And so Nigel E., I called him, and he didn't answer. And, you know, this is the problem. This is why coaches should take the job on Sundays when there's no school and not on Mondays during the school day. Okay, Mario, for next time, not that you're not taking any other jobs, but if you could go back in time and take the job again, do it on Sunday, Mario. Don't take your time, okay? So I call Nigel E., and he was nice enough to text me right away and say, listen, I'm in class. And so I texted him back and said, all right, you know, just what's a good time to call? And I realized, like, just freaking text him and see, like, what he has to say, you know? And so, you know, so he actually gave me some good stuff. And then, you know, with Nigel E., was it Nigel E.? I'm trying to think if it was him also. Yeah, then there was another. So he was great. And then there was another one who talked to me. I'm trying to remember. I did so many recruiting calls today. But there's another kid who literally talked to me at school, and like I could hear the teacher in the background. He's like apologizing to the teacher, like, "I'm sorry, I gotta take this. I'm sorry." And I'm like, "All right, just go." But like that's been my day, you know, is like bothering kids that are in school. These are like high school kids.
They love it. Gives them
and listen, they were nice enough. They were excited. Like kids who aren't excited, honestly, they like, even though you have a good relationship with them, they're not going to take your call. they're not going to probably respond to a lot of your texts. Like, that's just the way kids are nowadays. They get hit up by so many people, so many media outlets. But the excitement was so high about Mario that I think almost every kid I reached out to responded. The only kids today who honestly didn't respond were the commitments aside from Kamari Rogers and Ja'Cory Brown. All the other commits, and I reached out to all of them just once. I called them. If they didn't answer, I just texted them like, hey, just checking in. Have you heard from Mario? And none of them responded. But the Oregon commits that I called responded like extremely well. This, got updates with Shamar, with all these, with Nigel Leak, obviously, with Earl. Talked to Earl's dad after that. I mean, we have that story on the front page, sort of wrapping them all up with the numbers. But like, it was a great day to do these recruiting calls because everyone's excited. All these kids are excited. They want to talk about it. And the weird thing was that 6 of the commits didn't want to talk, and I'm sure that's because they're upset. Like they committed to Miami, of course, but they also committed to Manny Diaz. And they all had made it clear over recent weeks to me that they were hoping Manny would stay.
Yeah. So
of course they were disappointed, but at the same time, they're committed to the Miami program. The only one who's decommitted so far is Justin Medlock. Landon Ibieta, I'm not sure they're going to keep him. Kamari Rogers, I talked
to Justin Medlock decommitted.
I talked to Justin's coach. I didn't even talk to Justin about it because I'm sure the kid's upset. So I called the coach, who I've talked to a couple of times before this, and the coach basically told me what I posted on the message board about it, which is, I don't have it in front of me, but basically which I said to you, is like Justin doesn't know what the defensive system will be. He doesn't know who the defensive coaches are.
Wait a couple days, and see if they hire. If Mario
he can always change his mind again. But in the meantime, he wants to explore his options, and probably the best way to get word out that, hey, I'm back on the market is to decommit for him. But I don't disagree with you. He still could have reached out to other coaches and said, listen, I'm interested in looking around. I guess that's another way to do it. And this is just how he chose to do it. And again, I'm not sure Mario keeps all these kids. I'm not sure if he does keep a Justin Medlock. Like even Kamari Rogers, who I think is an outstanding cornerback prospect, who top programs around the country have recruited and want, even despite, he had obviously the torn ACL, but he's going to be fine off that in probably in January, February, he'll start running. I talked to his dad several times today, and listen, I know Mario's super busy, but they're like, listen, the dad's a high school coach for 20 years. And he's like, I know how this goes. If you don't hear from the head coach that takes the job within 24 hours, you can read between the lines on this thing. Right. And he's like, we have not heard from Mario Cristobal. And so
Mario was flying across the country.
So Mario's been super busy. So, but Mario, if you're watching, I'm sure Mario has nothing else to do except watch our show. So Mario, since I know you're watching, give Kamari's dad a call and let him know where he stands. They want some reassurance because Kamari does want to be a Hurricane. He loves UM, and I think he's a hell of a prospect. And the family's super nice. Kamari's a great kid. Dad's a great guy. So it'd be nice if they stick in the class, obviously, and do have a home at Miami. So.
All right, Master Killer.
Okay.
I guess that's not X-rated. He wants to know about Georgia's DC as the next DC. I have a hard time imagining that Mario's going to be able to steal the DC from Georgia and bring him here, but that guy's a hell of a coach. So if he's able to do it, all the power to him, but I wouldn't count on that happening. Who's going to be on the Lamar show tomorrow? It's actually going to be Wednesday, Philly. I believe we're going to have Roland Smith and Hurley Brown, 2 former Hurricanes that are playing each other in the state championship. That'll be interesting. And we're supposed to have a bunch of former Hurricanes who played at the same time as Lamar and Mario to talk about the new hire. So it should be a fun Lamar Thomas show. But that'll be Wednesday. Hurricane Duval says that they should keep the turnover chain, Matt. I don't in a million years see that happening.
Wow. Why? Listen, why? I love just real college football. I don't like all this fake hype and Manny having kids jump up and down the sidelines and have them parade around and take pictures with the chain on and stuff. Just go out and play football and celebrate with your teammates. That's football. That's what football's supposed to be. I'm not a bat flip guy in baseball. I'm not one of these, just run in the end zone, put the ball down and go back to the sideline. Celebrate with your teammates in the end zone if you want to. But the whole spectacle thing, that's just not for me. Maybe other people like that sort of thing. I think maybe the kids certainly like it.
Yeah, and anything that involves individualism, you're not going to see.
Listen, you know what I said to you when we watched that first Alabama game, and they destroyed Miami, obviously. Like, you didn't see the Alabama guys like after a sack, like putting their arms, beating their chest like they're the greatest player in the world. They ran back to the defensive side and got back in their stance.
Yeah.
And like if that's what Alabama's doing, that's what I want Miami to do, because that's right now that's the pinnacle. That's what you're reaching for. Like, they don't like go crazy over their touchdowns, or they didn't against Miami, maybe against Georgia a little bit.
You're not seeing any turnover channel on the Nick Saban sideline. And
they're just about the job and being professionals.
Yeah, you're not going to see it on a Mario sideline either.
You know what I hope Mario institutes? Open locker room. Because in the NFL, if they do it in the NFL, do it again in college.
Yeah, you're not going to see that either, I don't think.
Make yourself separate from the rest of the pack. Open the locker room. Open the sideline to the media.
Look at Charles Smithers here. First of all, look at his avatar. Okay, that looks like it's from like the 1950s. When
you don't know who that is?
When we used to do CaneSport magazine.
That's the Threes Company landlord who had a prior show that was very popular back in the day. What was his name? His name was Farley or something on Three's Company. I can't remember his real name, but he was he played some bumbling detective or policeman, I think, like way before my time. But that's who that is. That's not a picture of Charles Smithers, by the way. That's a picture of an actor who was quite successful back in the day.
But he's remembering a CaneSport magazine cover when Tremaine Mack blocked the punt at West Virginia. I actually remember that. I was standing right there. It was amazing. He loved our CaneSport magazine cover from that issue. So good for you that you can remember that. Jack Ryan.
I wore the wrong shirt. God forbid. You know what? It's funny. I told my wife, I said, listen, I can't wear these Lacoste shirts with the big gators on it anymore. I literally ordered this thinking it would be okay because it's got a little tiny crocodile. And like now I can't even wear this.
Switch brands to Calvin Klein or Tommy Hilfiger or one of those.
No, because this has the correct combination of cotton and polyester that my skin loves. Nobody else does it. Only Lacoste.
100% cotton.
It's 35% cotton and whatever the rest is.
Why don't you forget the damn polyester? That's
the cotton shirts wrinkle. The polyester shirts, my skin can't breathe. This is the hybrid. This is the hurry up offense. This is the 4-3 Alabama defense that dominates. This is my jam, man. I can't not wear Lacoste. They just got to get rid of. If I can get them rid of the crocodile, that's perfect.
All right, listen. Forget his shirt. Everybody hit
Andy
your like
Griffin
buttons.
Show. Thank you, Barney Fife. Andy Griffin Show. Thank you, D. Newkirk. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, everybody hit your like buttons and hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel.
Don Knotts.
Help us get our numbers up. We would very much appreciate that. David Jackson, great, interesting point here. Good recruiting will get you 80% there. I agree with that, Matt. We make a big deal and people make a big deal about these coaches and coordinators and stuff. To me, like, you look at these teams like Georgia and Bama, like, they're where they are because they have dudes on their roster, and a lot of them. And I see Mario getting Miami back in that direction. I really do. And if you can marry those guys with great coordinators and stuff, and now you got something. Now you got something special.
I think I got to go change my shirt. People are really pissed.
This is interesting. I didn't know this. They made Brian McClendon the interim coach at Oregon. Is that a preemptive strike to try to keep Mario from bringing him here? Could be.
Not a bad idea by them because they want to try to keep some of their staff. That might be a little bit of a way to do it. Throw some money and do that. Because Oregon's in big trouble, man. I read a story from that local reporter yesterday, like saying if Mario leaves, there's nothing left here. Like, we're screwed is basically what he wrote. He said it'll never be the same, because all the recruits leave, players might transfer out, coaching staff's gone. You're starting at square zero, and that was a good point by him, and we'll see.
All right, Matt, I think we've about done it.
Oh my God! Well, listen. First of all, everyone that hates my shirt, I'm sorry. I won't wear it again. I didn't even think about it. Okay, it's a crocodile. It's a Lacoste shirt. I got it today, so that the crocodile wouldn't be so big that people complaining about it before. And somebody, listen. TF keeps posting only because you posted it 50 times. TF, okay, and took over the entire thread. I'm not taking you stone crabbing with me. You know why, TF? Because if I take you with me, I got to split my crabs with you. All right. It's not happening. I'm sorry. I don't take anybody with me. I just can't, I can't afford to split my crabs, man. My family needs to eat those stone crabs. They will not accept taking a half bounty. If you want to come, pull the traps while I sit there on the side, drinking a mojito, and I get to keep all the crabs, I'm happy to have you along. That's all I got to say to you, TF.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Hope we've answered all your questions and given you some insight. Big day at the U tomorrow. We'll have obviously tons of coverage from Mario Cristobal's opening press conference. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Furman. We're going to go get some sleep and get ready for the Mario show in the morning. And we'll be seeing you all day tomorrow, everybody.